Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. And thank you for that incredible introduction and beautiful, beautiful piece of music. Gorgeous. Srimatre Namaha. So we are decrypting you through the 1000 names of Lalitā. And we found her waist in the most unlikely places, right? Cellular gap junctions, cosmic filaments, the black holes, anything that is invisible that connects visible forms, the thread of awareness, the thread of energy, this thread between you and me, all Devi's invisible waist. So we're going to move on to the next nama, which is number 37. Arunaruna Kausumbha Vastra Bhasvat Kati Tati. Okay. Arunaruna. So Aruna means sun-like. Okay, the redness of the sun, of the rising sun. Kausumbha is the a flower, actually, an orange safflower. Vastra means piece of cloth. Bhasvat means luminous, shining. Kati Tati. Kati means waist. You know that invisible waist? Tati, sloping, the hips, the edge of the hips. So basically it's saying Devi is the one who has this glimmering, shimmering piece of cloth tied to her waist and hips, which is of the reddish hue of the sun, or of this orangish safflower. So it is a combination of red and orange. So it's basically saying, up until now, see, we had been describing Devi and not really her clothes, right? Because she is naked above the waist. And here in the waist, she's covered all of a sudden with this red piece of cloth. So this is a very, very important understanding of Devi. So Devi herself is red, right? She is the color of the rising sun, and then she's wearing this cloth of the rising sun. Basically, the redness, it denotes many things. It denotes the redness of passion, of lust, because red is that color of blood, right? She's that life-giving force. So what is this life-giving force? So in my meditations, what I have come to see is that Devi is this one who is sitting on top of Kameshwara. So if you look at some depictions of Kali, for instance, right, she is in the middle of this cremation ground, and she's pitch black, hair flying everywhere, wild, and sometimes you see her standing on top of Shiva. Sometimes you see her in union with Shiva in the cremation ground. She is sitting on top of him, joined with him. And when you look at Lalitā Devi, and we'll come to this in a few namas, she is actually sitting on top of Kameshwara in sexual union with him, right? So as somebody who's a worshiper and so devoted to the Shri Chakra, all of this starts to become really one big reality, which is this idea that Devi creates another of herself in order to have fun. So she is sitting on top of him. And when she's sitting on top of him, the Sri Chakra has 5 triangles facing downward. If Shiva is on top of her, there are 5 triangles facing upward. One way or the other, Shiva and Shakti are united in the Bindu. Kameshwara, Kameshwari together. And it is the friction of their union that creates everything. It is that friction, that coming out of that lust, coming out of that passion is what creates everything. Right from the innermost triangle of the Sri Chakra, going down, 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 down into the Bhupura. And what is it that, is being created in the center, in this friction? It is juice. The orgasmic juice of experience. In other words, all of creation is basically orgasmic juice. All objects, all subtle objects, and the interaction of objects. I am an object, you're an object. When we interact, there is friction. Whether we are talking, or whether we are touching, or whether we are listening to each other, or any sense interaction is basically friction. And what is that friction? It is the friction between Shiva and Shakti. And what is it that is created out of it? It is this red juice. It is the juice. So here she is sitting on top of Kameshwara. Covered, her hips and her waist are covered in red. Doesn't say white, you see? Doesn't say white of intellect. No, this is the red of juice. She is right in the middle of your experience. She is right in the middle of your experience, experiencing your experience. How's that? Juicy, no? And think of Devi, absolutely, in this tradition, in the Shakta Shaiva traditions, there's no scope for shame. There's no scope for shyness. Right? There is absolutely none of that. Life is the way it is. Like it's, if you see animals in the wild, they're not shy. Right? They are raw. They are in the middle of life, like experiencing everything at its rawest level, right? They are actually drinking the juice. We don't drink the juice, right? Because we have all these inhibitions. Oh my gosh, what do you mean Devi is naked? I can't think of her as anything but a mother. You are so wrong. Because even when she is mothering, she is in her orgasmic flow. Right? And once you understand that principle of Kali and Lalitā being the same, you arrive at a particular understanding of the Sri Chakra. And here, this red cloth is the first hint of Devi's orgasmic power. Aruna Aruna Kausumbha Vastra Bhasvat Kati Tati. So, I mean, even when you are thinking about this, you should start to experience this juice within you. Right? When you are visualizing Devi like this, it doesn't matter who you are or what your gender is or any of that. Just that thing, because you are Devi, right? And it is in this lower part of the body that we start to experience passion and lust. Because it's a very primal thing. It's in your body. It didn't say that she had a red turban, right? She's like naked. But here, this is the origin of that passion. That earth plane where we are interacting, where there is the potential for understanding our own orgasmic flow. It is here in the lower body, in the groundedness, which is why the Mooladhara Chakra is depicted as being red. It's not a white chakra, right? The Muladhara is red because it is full of that orgasmic power. It is in the groundedness of this physical reality that we have to find our transcendence, that juice of transcendence. Okay, so here we go. Aruna Aruna Kausumbha Vastra Bhasvat Kati Tati. Then it says, the next nama, Ratna Kinkinika Ramya Rashana Dama Bhushita. Ratna means gem or jewel. Kinkinika. Kinkini means tinkling. That tinkling sound. Ramya means delightful, beautiful, very enticing. Rashana is a delicate belt or a delicate chain that a lot of women wear around the waist. Dama means garland. Bhushita means adorned. So it says basically whose waist, Devi is one whose waist is adorned by this delicate jeweled garland or girdle, which has tiny little tinkling bells. Now remember, the waist, remember the waist? It's non-existent. It's so tiny. And around this waist, she has the tinkling bells on a chain. And below this is her hips and her waist covered by this red cloth. So basically what this is telling us, this nama is telling us, is what happens to us when we actually begin to experience the rasa, the orgasmic juice of experience in a grounded reality. And that experience, a lot of times, many of you may have experienced this, it happens as inner sounds. In, for instance, meditation. You start to hear bells, you may hear a flute, you may hear some other thing, you may hear a humming. And these are all the different sounds of that juice of experience. So, and that comes from Devi's, this delicate waist girdle that she has with these tinkling bells. The next nama is Kamesha Jnata Saubhagya Mardavoru Dvayanvita. So Kameshwara. Jnata, Kameshwara knows. Jnata means to know. Saubhagya means auspicious. Marda means gentle, soft. Uru means thighs. Okay. Dvaya Anvita. So Dvaya means two, a pair. Anvita is to know or to have or to be endowed. So basically this is saying Devi is the one whose saubhagya, whose auspiciousness and her pair of thighs are known only to Kameshwara. Only to Kameshwara because she is covered in red. Now, what are we referring to here with regard to Saubhagya? Saubhagya here refers to her yoni. So her yoni and her thighs are known only to Kameshwara. Because why is it only known to Kameshwara? Because he's in union with her. The way we can know that is to be in union with her, to become her. We can only know her thighs and her saubhagya. In fact, knowing that, knowing her saubhagya, knowing her yoni as being non-separate from myself is known as Sri Vidya or Saubhagya Vidya. Saubhagya means auspiciousness. Her yoni is auspicious. Why? Because it's the place of creation. Everything, you are a product of that. Everything that you are creating is coming from that. You, me, all of this existence is all coming from her yoni. And Kameshwara is the only one that knows the complete extent of it. All the secrets of her yoni are known only to him. Nobody else can even know that. Right? So one thing I will tell you is there are many different ways of understanding the Lalitā Sahasranāma. You can sterilize it, make it very morally appropriate, socially acceptable, or you can see it for what it is. And I'm going to tell you the way I see it. You can create your moral and social veils around it as you see fit. The most auspicious Vidya, Sri Vidya, is of the orgasmic nature. It is the one of drinking that juice, the juice of experience. In fact, I said yesterday I started writing some verses to Devi as the one who is, in my mind, Rasambika. Rasapurne Rasambika. So you can replace all the namas of Devi as, the yoginis of the Sri Chakra with the rasa, and that would be appropriate because that is the function of all yoginis, to experience rasa in those types of experiences. Whether it is at the level of the macrocosm or microcosm here in your cells right now. So many of your cells are dividing. So many of your cells are mating. Your DNA is splitting and joining with another to create more cells. All of this is being bathed in juice. Cytoplasm within the cells, interstitium outside of your cells. At the most minute level, creation is orgasmic. It is ecstatic. And understanding this ecstasy is Lalitā. The one who is actually experiencing that ecstasy, in my interpretation, because of my devotion, is Kali. It is Kali experiencing ecstasy as Lalitā. This is Sri Vidya. This is not an intellectual Vidya. This is auspicious Vidya. And for this, you must know Devi's yoni. But you can't, because Kameshwara is the only one who knows it. In order to know her yoni, you have to become him. No other way out. Imagine that, right? Kamesha jnata saubhagya mardavoru vayanvita. Manikya makutakara janutvaya virajita. Manikya means ruby again. See, red. Makuta akara. Makuta means crown. Akara is the shape. Janu dvaya. Janu means knee. Dvaya again, pair. Virajita. Virajita means celebrated. So it says Devi is the one whose knees, her pair of knees, they appear like the crowns of precious rubies. So here we are beginning to now understand Devi's presence at various levels of existence. The knees depict strength, support. So if you look at rubies, not only are they red and beautiful, they're also very strong. So her knees are the ones that support all of the universe, right? So they are like rubies, crowns of rubies. Then we get into the next one. Indra Gopa Parikshipta Smaratu Nabha Janghika. Indra Gopa. Indra Gopa is, it's actually a bug, an insect, which is very much attracted to certain flowers, and it's red in appearance. So red is a very big theme here. Parikshipta, scattered. Smara is a very interesting word because it refers to remember, smarana, but it also refers to Manmatha or Kamadeva, the god of love, attraction. Tuna means a quiver that holds arrows. Abha is to shine. Jangika means we're talking about calves. So now we're describing Devi's calves. The one whose calves are like Manmatha's quiver of arrows, studded with red insects that flock to this particular type of flower, that and these flowers make up the arrows. Remember, Kamadeva is the one who shoots that arrow at Shiva to arouse his passion for Parvati, right? So his arrows are Devi's arrows. So when Shiva incinerates him, Rati, his wife, Manmatha's wife, begs Shiva to revive him, and eventually he is revived. First as Bhandasura, remember, Bhandasura is Manmatha in his distorted form, and then Devi goes to this war with him, which we're going to see in the Namas, and then she incorporates him into her. See, if you really want to become incorporated into Devi, do something so bad, right, that she has to fight you. And this is what we see also in the Devi Mahatmya. All the asuras, rakshasas that she fights, every one of them is incorporated into her. And how beautiful is that? It's like one way or the other to get her attention, right? So anyway, I digress. So Manmatha is this god of love, and his arrows are made of flowers. So basically here we are saying Devi's calves are like arrows, Manmatha's arrows, in his quiver. But these arrows are made of flowers, and within the flowers are these insects. Right? So here it's again talking about Devi's calves, but the arrows have a very interesting significance, because the arrows are the ones that direct your attention. Right? They are the ones that arrow is like your mind being directed in a certain way. And it says now, see, here you have Devi's knees that are supporting, us. And then we are going to see her ankles in the next nama. But in between her knees and her ankles are these arrows. And these arrows are directing our attention from her ankles to her knees, going in the upward direction. Whenever we experience this juice, which we should be experiencing all the time, the orgasmic juice, you can have that juice die off. And that's really what happens in ordinary existence. This juice is continuously being created as amrita, as nectar. It is said that this juice is produced in the Sahasrāma chakra and drips down, drips. And some of you may have had this meditative experience where you can actually taste it. But the sun is in the middle of the body. And the sun, and so this nectar drips down and the sun consumes it. So we're not experiencing the nectar at all because it's burnt out. What does all this mean? It means that in our moment-to-moment experience, it is actually orgasmic, and there is juice produced. What is the sun representing? It is the thinking mind. It is this thinking mind that, is very goal-oriented. And when we are goal-oriented like that, I need to have this, I need to do this, whatever, our goal-oriented mind, it soaks up that Amrita and nothing is available. In order for this Amrita to become our lived experience, moment to moment, there needs to be a change in direction. Instead of going downward, in our practices and whatever we do, the energy needs to start turning upward. Going from the bottom, the where the ankles are, these arrows need to be turning upward. What does that actually mean? Our attention needs to move towards that orgasmic experience in the hip and waist area and continue to move up so that we can actually experience that nectar. And therefore, there are these arrows all the way down her body pointing up. And they're not ordinary arrows, see? They're not the very stiff and the arrows, or you might think, for instance, the diamond arrows of discernment in Advaita Vedanta, for instance. Like it's very black or white. This is real, that is unreal. Stay with the real, don't go to unreal. Yeah? But here it's very playful. They're flower arrows with a lot of these, bugs in them, saying very playful. Very playful. See, this Sri Vidya or Saubhagya Vidya is very playful. You want to enjoy the experience as it's happening. It's not painful. It's not like, just use the intellect in a cutting way. Yes, you must use your intellect, but you need to also enjoy the experience. And that starts at the level of the calves. And then we go on to her beautiful ankles. Gura Gulpa Kurma Prishta Jaishnu Prapadanvita. So Gura is hidden. Gulpa is ankles. Kurma. Kurma means tortoise. Prishta, the shell of the tortoise. Jaishnu Prapadanvita. Jaishnu means victorious again. Prapada is the arch of the foot. Anvita means it's there, it's present, or it is showing up. So it's basically that Nama says, she whose arch, the arch of her feet, they not only look like tortoise shells, which are perfectly, shaped, but they actually surpass that in the curvature and in the grace, in its beauty. Now, ankles. Now we're talking about the ankles. The ankles are the ultimate support. The knees are the support, but then the ankles are like the support of the knees. And here, see, they're not using rubies. And they're not using flowers. They're like, this is hard. It's like tortoise shell. It's very structural. It is so grounded. You need to be so grounded in reality and yet have those arrows directed upward. You're grounded in reality and you're enjoying the experience because all the arrows are turned upward. Right? So that is the secret of Sri Vidya. So then we move on to the next nama. Naka di dhiti sanchanna namajjana tamoguna. Naka di dhiti sanchanna. So here we are talking about her nails, her toenails. Naka means toenail. Diditi means shining, luminous. Sanchana means hidden or covered. Namajjana tamoguna. So tamoguna, majjana means to sink. Tamoguna, tamas guna. So here basically we are saying her fingernails, or I mean her toenails, are so brilliant that they can dispel the darkness of tamoguna or the tamas guna. Now, let's talk about the gunas a bit and why this nama is so spectacular. So, there are three gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. Sattva and tamas are stationary, they're static. Rajas is dynamic. Okay, sattva means essence. The essence of something is sattva. Rajas means dynamism, movement. Tamas refers to steadiness, structure, heaviness. A lot of times we think that sattva is good, tamas is bad. No such thing. The essence of tamas is also sattva. The essence of rajas is also sattva. Understand this? When sattva becomes heavy, it becomes tamas. So there's no good or bad here. All three gunas are required for creation. All five elements arise from the three gunas. Tamas, in our mind, refers to stagnation, inertia or stagnation. But at the macrocosmic level, tamas is structure. Without tamas, there can be nothing. So if you look at the Sri Chakra, at the highest level, as you start going up from avarna by avarna, tamas actually comes quite high in the Sri Chakra. Once you start breaking that down within yourself, you will come to tamas last, because that is the fundamental structure of the universe, including that of the Sri Chakra. We think that tamas should be the first one to go. In fact, it will be the last one that you will understand and transcend. Right? So tamas is structure. Now, what's up with the nails? So you see, in Ayurveda, asti dhatu refers to the bones, right? The bone structure. So there are 7 dhatus, of which asti dhatu is bones. Bones are, asti has the elements of earth and space. And when you are in balance, your doshas are in balance, then you have perfect asti dhatu. Remember, asti dhatu is the supporter, right? It's the support of the body. Without bones, there is no support. So you can say bones are tamasic, because they are the fundamental structure, right? Now, all dhatus will have what are known as upadhatus, and they will also have what are known as malas. Mala means impurity. The upadhatu of bones are teeth. And the malas of bones, or asti dhatu, are hair and nails. What are mala? Mala means once the metabolism is done, once the metabolism goes through all these 7 tissues in order, what is produced as a waste is known as mala. As in, it is not required anymore. Clearly, we don't need our nails, right? We don't need our nails or our hair. You're like, oh my God, no, I need to have my hair. Well, yes, you can have your hair, but it's not required. Neither are your nails, right? Because they're both malas. Now look at the beauty of this. Devi's nails, even the waste of her asti dhatu, has the ability to give us illumination. So it's said that you don't even need to look at Devi. You just look at her fingernails and you'll be liberated. Because that stagnation in our mind keeps us separate, keeps us thinking, I am this, I am that, and, Devi is always separate from me. So this tamoguna, this inertia is a big part of why that nectar is not available to us in our day-to-day experience. But if we look at Devi's nails, which come from the Asti Dhatu, they are so brilliant that it illuminates. That brilliance of her toenails, they illuminate us, that stagnation, so that we can come to see her, ourselves as her. Now, it is said, actually, in the Devi Bhagavatam, there's this incredibly beautiful, beautiful story. Maybe some of you have read this. So once the three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, they go for a meeting with Devi. And we'll see where they go in the subsequent namas. So they go to, her palace, and they seek an audience with Devi. And they're unable to look at her because she is so spectacular that they cannot even meet her eyes. They can't even look at her form. They're automatically drawn to her feet. And they bow down to one of her toenails. Immediately, they're transported. Okay, immediately they find themselves in a chariot, and they are off to some other loka, some other universe. And they are taken from universe to universe, and to their utter shock, they see that each universe has its own Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Right? They thought they were the only ones. And they're so humbled. Finally, they like come back in this humility, and they find themselves still bowing to Devi's feet. And she laughs, and she says, the radiance from my one toenail creates all of the universes. All of you. Many versions of you. So the tamas that is even in Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva is destroyed when they look at her toenails. What about us? Right? So beautiful. So this understanding of nails. Now, when you see, when we start having hormonal problems, especially when our orgasmic potential starts to become disturbed, and you start to go into stress. What is stress? Stress is basically tamas, right? Your stagnation, and you're going into this lack of wholeness. So your whole neurohormonal pathways change. When that changes, your metabolism changes. What your Asti Dhatu is putting out as mala starts to change. So in Ayurveda, looking at mala is a very important aspect of understanding somebody's health. And you can start to see, when you start getting stressed, you start losing hair. When a lot of Agni goes into the Asti Dhatu, too much heat goes into the bones, you start graying. When too much air goes into it, too much vata goes into it, you start having osteoporosis. All of this starts to become manifested in weak nails, weak hair, weak teeth, Teeth are upadhatu. But the malas even start to change. You start going through menopause, your hair changes, your bones change, your nails change. Yes? Have you all noticed that? So, Devi, and we'll see in another Nama, she has jet black hair. She never goes gray. And her nails are perfect. And we saw her teeth, they were perfect. That can only happen if your tamas guna is in absolute balance, right? You're so grounded. Your tamas, you have owned it. You are scintillating in the sattva of the tamas. She is that tamoguna. Right? It is said that when she takes on completely owns her tamas guna, right? She is Kali. When she completely becomes sattva guna, she is Saraswati. When she completely, takes on this rajas, she is Mahalakshmi. And when she is in perfect balance with all three, she is Mahatripura Sundari. She's the beauty of each guna. Right? So reflect on Devi's waist, her Aruna Kausumba, that reddish cloth that she's wearing, and the orgasmic juice, and all the things that prevent you from accessing that. This is a whole different topic, but this is just a mild introduction to that. And then the business of these arrows, Indragopa, and her ankles, and finally her nails, right? How are your nails doing? Ooh. How's your hair doing? Oh my. So begin to rethink whatever you know about the gunas, whatever you know about desire and lust and passion. Okay? Any questions? I'm going to stop there today. Any questions? Yes, Pam.
When you speak about the up and down, I'm thinking about another context where you've talked about in and out and the center and the periphery. Is that the same, or is so right now you're talking about going up as being we need to turn things to go up, but
there is no up or down. And I was shown this recently. It's like, what? Where's up? Where's down? Where's right? And there is no direction. You can say up means you're going inward.
Okay.
You are turning to the source. Turning to the source is up. Turning to the periphery is down. Right? So
Yeah.
that's one way to think about that.
Thank you.
Not necessarily direction, because in other universes, up is down, down is up. Who knows? Right? Yes, Dhruva.
Kavita, what you said is just so incredibly brilliant that I don't dare to ask a very poor question, but in what you said, is there something still relevant as the old notion of bhoga and yoga?
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant question.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is good. Bhoga means to enjoy. That is what is being spoken of here. See, we ordinarily think of bhoga as I want to have all this. Having something doesn't mean you're enjoying it. Two different things. You can have, a donut, but are you really enjoying the donut? Is that donut, eating that donut, tasting it, is it creating the sparkles of orgasmic juice or not? It is. She's drinking it. She's drinking the orgasmic juice of you eating the donut. But are you doing that? That's the question, right?
Bhoga is
so we think
just for
bhoga. Bhoga is really enjoyment.
Mhm.
Bhoga
But it's
means
just for oneself. So for oneself.
it doesn't matter for who else. Can you enjoy it for anybody else?
Of course.
Yeah, it's always for yourself, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So you can't enjoy anything for anybody else. Even when you think you're enjoying it for somebody, you're enjoying it. You are the only, this body is the only body through which you can enjoy something. So when I'm only enjoying my experience, I am the Jivatma. The difference between Jivatma and Paramatma is enjoying all experiences. And so it happens at higher stages of practice. You switch consciousness. You can enjoy somebody enjoying you. That can happen.
So
It does happen.
It's yoga. It's yoga.
That becomes, yes, that becomes bhoga through yoga.
Okay. Yeah. Mhm.
But first you have to enjoy it yourself. You have to first enjoy things you have. People mistake bhoga as wanting more. Absolutely not. Bhoga is to enjoy even the suffering. Can you do that? Can you enjoy pain? That is bhoga. Enjoyment is bhoga. It doesn't matter what the thing it is that you're enjoying. Once you can enjoy even pain, you have transcended that. You have transcended the duality of pain and pleasure. So yoga is already happening through bhoga.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And this path is one of bhoga, right? That's why Devi is red.
You're incredible.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Other questions? Okay, there are some questions here. What is the difference between awareness, witness, and attention? Well, subtle differences. In practical terms, not really much. Attention means you're doing something and you're paying attention there. And awareness is you are aware that you are doing something, or you're thinking something, or you're feeling something. You are, it depends on where your focus is. You can say when your focus is more on what you're doing or what the experience is, or whether you are focused more on that which knows that experience. So here you want to keep, and consciousness keeps switching between the two. And that consciousness switching between the two constantly is known as spanda. Consciousness is not static. It continuously switches. That is known as spanda. Becoming aware of all that is the game. Okay?
Okay. Thank you. Spanda.
Spanda, yes. Okay, so there's another question. When we say orgasmic juice in moment to moment, is it about shutting off the mind and be in the present completely? Absolutely. That's the only way it can happen. But even when you're in the past, even when you have moved off into the past, can you enjoy it? That's the question. When you're daydreaming about the future, being aware of the daydream is going to make you enjoy that orgasmic juice. By the way, whether or not you're aware of it, you're already enjoying it. The reason that trauma and pain remain in us is because on some level, we enjoy it. We enjoy our resentments. We enjoy our whatever. It's already happening. It's here. It's just becoming aware of what is already happening. Okay. What is self-knowledge and how individual can attain self-knowledge, or in other words, who they really are by knowing real yeah. So knowing yourself is self-knowledge. How can one attain self-knowledge? We have been discussing that. Here, this is a path of the deity. There are many other paths to know this, to understand self-knowledge. One is that of self-inquiry. So yeah, all of those. The formlessness of Lalitā Devi is described in superlatives. personal observations. Nature is beautiful. Rose is about to open. This is the beauty in the eye of the beholder. This beauty never withers. Exactly. I agree. So the beauty we are seeking is the beauty of the one that can appreciate the beauty, not the beauty of the object, which is always impermanent. It is the beauty of knowing beauty. Okay. Exactly. I agree. I am chanting other namas, Trishati for Lalitā Devi, and if chanting 1000 names is no. See, nothing is more effective or less effective. It's how you understand it and what you do with it. So whether it is one nama or 1000 or 300, it's all the same. We usually enjoy a materialistic world through our five senses, and that is why in the Bhagavad Gita it said we need to control our five sensory organs. Control, yes, but you can control it by withdrawing completely from it, which is not what Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, by the way. He's saying explore and see, and exploration of the world through your senses is karma yoga. And here we are saying exploration through beauty is that path of Tripura Sundari. Okay, so now you have a question?
Yes, hi, namaste. My question is, once you just said that the consciousness moving in between like a spanda. So I just thought about this. Is it the same as the pranavayu, or it could be consciousness moving from Ida to Pingala and trying to get going when it goes upward? Is that anything similar or has nothing to do with each other?
Well, it is prana that moves it between the two poles of subject and object. Okay, that movement, and we'll see that in a later nama, where Devi closes her eyes and nothing exists. She opens her eyes, the world comes into play. And that movement is known as spanda.
Right.
That can only happen with prana shakti.
Right.
Okay, so that is the case. Now, Ida and Pingala are not associated with spanda. They are associated with duality.
Okay.
Okay, where, prana moves into the Ida, you're feeling a particular way. Then it moves to the Pingala, you feel a different way. So it's basically the two halves of the brain being lit up alternatively.
Okay.
That is not necessarily spanda. You're looking at the same object. If you're looking at it from one hemisphere, you see it one way. If you look at the same in a different, from the perspective of a different hemisphere, you'll see it in a different way. That is different. Here we're saying, even without our noticing, we are constantly switching between being the subject and being the object, being the subject, being the object. That is spanda.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Of course. Any other questions?
I have a question about, like, I do non-dual meditation. I sometimes feel like the metacognition is awareness. There's, I don't know if I'm putting my question correctly, but I feel like I just want complete silence. It seems impossible. Even what I observe is through words in my head. Like, okay, I'm doing this now. Okay, like I have to, even when I'm pulling back, coming to the present, is that metacognition thing awareness, or I don't even want those words in my head, and I want
I know
like
what you mean.
silence.
In other words, there is a commentary about your experience.
Exactly.
Yes, I know that. Yeah, it's a phase. Everybody has to go through it.
Okay, and
Because
I'm in
that
the
is
phase for 2
standing
years
in the
now.
way. That is
Yeah.
standing in the way of your experience.
Yep, I'm in that place for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to happen. It's a phase. And the more you become aware of that, you can't make it go away, because then that'll be another voice. Right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, there's hope one day.
Of course, there's always hope.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? So much to consider. Okay, so much to appreciate with Devi. So Yeah, so I think there are a lot of questions here about how to achieve higher consciousness. That's exactly what we are discussing here. So I suggest going through all of these talks and understand that. So there are many different pathways to it. And here we are discussing the specific pathway of the Lalitā Sahasranāma. And there are other pathways. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Srimatre Namaha.